This is a Harbor Freight pipe expander. You can see it expanded the pipe quite well. Now, my experience was great. I saw a bunch of videos where people busted it and had problems with it. One thing I made sure, which is important, make sure it's all the way in the pipe, because if this is sticking out, you're going to bust them off. And I greased it really, really good. And I just used a 17 millimeter Craftsman wrench. I didn't put no super power on it. One thing I did do was I kind of worked it like a tap, to where I turned it in a little bit. I've had a pipe on this wrench. Turned it in a little bit, then backed it out. Then turned it in, then backed it out. Then turned it in, and a little more every time. Taking my time. But one thing I seen, people would have this thing about here, and they would start tightening it down. It was maybe a type of pipe that wouldn't go all the way in. And when you tighten it there, it's definitely going to bust all these off because you're wedging right there. So one thing that's important, I greased it really good, greased the heck out of it. And then I made sure it was all the way flush to the pipe before I started cranking it down. But as you can see, I put a nice fit for a Volkswagen, so my clamp will fit much tighter. I just expanded it from about 52 millimeters to 55, so it did bring it a little bit. And then the same thing on the other end. Not so much on the other end. Now I didn't try to make the pipe big enough to go over another pipe. My point here is these clamps for the Audis and Volkswagens will fit tight, and they fit good, but you usually got to crank them all the way down. So what I do is I'll expand this part of each side of the pipe just a little bit, so it's a little snugger on the clamp. But it worked great for me. I just took my time and made sure that was all the way in. And you can see I got it gave me a good expansion on that pipe, every bit of what I needed. I could keep going with it, but then it's not going to line up to the muffler. So that's my only advice. Make sure, it's not like this when you start tightening. Because if I started tightening that right there, it's going to bust all these off right at the pipe eventually. So make sure it's inside there, at least flush. That way the pipe kind of keeps the tool from breaking. But it worked good for me. I'll use it many more times, I'm sure.